and welcome. Today, we'll have the opportunity to hear the personal story of one of the students who was featured in this year's Giving Day video. We'll hear from Uche Duru, a second-year physical therapy student at Clarkson, who tells us about his long journey from Nigeria to New York City and finally to the North Country, as he pursues his dream of becoming a physical therapist. Our story begins with Uche arriving in New York City when he was 10 years old.
One thing I do always remember when I first came to New York as a kid in middle school, the kids weren't very nice to me. They know you're different, or they know that you grew up elsewhere, or you have a slight accent. They used to ask me, "Oh, do you guys even have sidewalks in your streets? Do you guys even bathe every day? Do you have lions walking down just all kinds of things that who knows maybe where they got some of those notions from." And at a point it made me pretty self-conscious. But over the years, when I got to high school, I noticed people were more accepting of others from other places. I wasn't always a confident child. As a kid, I was very, very shy. In Nigeria, something like eye contact. In school, we didn't look our teachers in the eyes. It's seen as a sign of disrespect or like challenge, like you're challenging one's authority. But here in New York, and even really in the States, eye contact is everything. If you're not looking someone in the eye, they're going to think you're up to something. But over time, in dealing with people, working, having jobs, talking to families, talking to patients, you kind of gain a certain level of confidence. In high school, I had an emphasis or focus on the sciences. I always knew I wanted to work in the medical field in some capacity, be it as a doctor or a nurse. Or funny thing, even back then, I didn't really know what a physical therapist was or even did. But I knew I wanted to work in a medical environment. I was always an A student in high school. Always. That my dad would never let me just kind of gloss over not doing well in an exam. If I came home with a 90, he goes, "Oh, was that the highest scoring class?" I would say, "No, someone else had a 95 or someone else had 100. He goes, "Well, you're not working hard enough." That was my dad till this day. If there's someone in class doing better, you either need to be studying with that person, figuring out what they're doing, or you yourself aren't working hard enough. So that influence in my life have stayed with me all these years. And after high school, I went on to undergraduate at the City College of New York in Manhattan, down in New York City. College itself presented a lot of challenges. Ended up changing my major at least once, but eventually graduated cum laude at a city college, and then had to figure out what to do. Do I work for a while, or do I apply right away to graduate programs? Decided to work for a while. With my psychology degree, I quickly found a job in the mental health sector down in New York City, where I worked with individuals with mental illness. So your schizophrenics, individuals with bipolar disorder, individuals with, you name it. I held that job for 3 solid years. And then it got kind of stressful. I felt like I needed a change. At that point, I was probably in my mid-20s, 25, 26. And then I left that job and I started to do some volunteer work on the side. And then I also knew I wanted a career change too. So I started looking into physical therapy. I volunteered at a local hospital in their physical therapy department. And I figured, you know what, this could make sense for me. PT schools is very competitive. It's not easy to get into. Most programs only have 20 or 30 seats for thousands of applicants. So I started the process of looking into schools, applying to schools, lots of schools nationwide. And so now here's the deal though. The thing is, at first I could not get into PT school. So I went the PTA route because I felt that, you know what if I spend all this money, 3 years of PT school and I don't like it? A PTA is a physical therapist assistant. They work alongside physical therapists. PTA can treat a patient, but cannot evaluate a patient. So I got into SUNY Canton's PTA program up in Canton, New York, where I graduated summa cum laude. Worked as a PTA for about a year and a half. Reapplied to PT school after having spent the 2 preceding years in the North Country. Being a little familiar with Canton, Potsdam, the northern New York area, I decided to make Clarkson my number one school of choice. I applied to about 5 schools, got interviewed everywhere, and chose Clarkson. So that's how I ended up here at Clarkson University. Clarkson University's physical therapy program uses what's called the problem-based learning model. Essentially, it's less about a teacher or a professor lecturing you on and on a topic or concept. You're given the same topic and or concept, but now you kind of have to do the groundwork yourself. You have to do a lot of research. There's a lot of independent learning involved in the problem-based learning model. And I'm someone who learns best independently. I'm not saying I don't need guidance. I still need the guidance of my teachers and my professors. But I don't learn best by being lectured for any lengthy amount of time. I like to develop the natural curiosity about a topic. And then after doing that, you come together in small groups of maybe 6 or 7 students, something we call tutorial in our program, where you now have to discuss the aforementioned topic in those small groups. So that's really the hallmark of Clarkson's physical therapy program. They're about 3-hour sessions twice a week, in addition to the lectures and the laboratory components of the program. But Clarkson really does a great job of teaching students. You will learn if you go to Clarkson's physical therapy program on the coursework. It's a lot of work. It's never work if you actually enjoy it. If there's some kind of passion behind it, if there's a driving force behind what you're studying, if you can personalize the learning experience and make it meaningful to you, it's never work. What I love about Clarkson is the diversity of the university. We have a mix of all races and ethnicities here. When I first moved to the North Country, that was a concern of mine, feeling as though I might not see very many people who look like me up here, kind of sticking out like a sore thumb kind of a deal. I was never quite settled with that idea. I like diversity. I like inclusion. I like inclusiveness. And I think our program really facilitates and promotes that. That's number one. I harken back to like in 2020 when the country experienced a lot of civil unrest due to racial concerns nationwide. Our faculty they wrapped their arms around us to let us know that we do in fact have their support. They readily offered words of advice or support just to kind of let the students know, especially the students of color, that, hey, you have our support if there's anything we can do. You name it. Our faculty is great. You can tell when people care for your success and for your well-being. When all those events and the unrest was kind of at its peak, we had several meetings. The President Tony Collins and the provost, they rallied around the students. I personally haven't had really negative experiences here in the North Country. I'm thankful for that. But other students of color, people who look like me in those forums, in those Zoom meetings, came out and said, hey, I've had this experience in the dorm rooms, or I've had this experience, out in public. And, it kind of breaks your heart to know that those things happened and do still happen. But the university as a whole, I believe, really tried to at least hold the meetings, hold those forums. There was an open door kind of a policy where here is a safe space. You can come here and voice your concerns, voice your experiences to people who may not even know this kind of stuff goes on. And then come up with some solutions, if there is a solution to some of these problems on campus. So I would say the university has tried. To me, though, I believe any change has to start from within. It's not something that I'm going to tell you or you're going to tell me. It's internal. It's how you view and see others who are different from you. Are you going to be biased to something that's different? Are you going to be prejudiced because it's different? Or do you embrace the diversity, embrace the difference? Any change moving forward has to come from within. It's how you perceive the world around you, how you relate to others. No one can change how they look. The way you were born is the way you were born. If we're all going to live in this earth community peacefully, then we have to find a way to coexist together, to adapt and be welcoming and accommodating to differences. Because really, the spice of life is variety, right? It's the variety, it's the diversity, it's the difference of cultures and ideas. And any change has to come from within, I think. And little by little, if every one of us does a little bit, no one has to do a lot. So that's really my take on that. But the university as a whole, Clarkson University, is trying to kind of bridge some of those gaps. Clarkson University's physical therapy program, and really the greater Clarkson University community, is preparing me, I feel, for the future. My specific advisor, Dr. Heather Shattuck, she's a pediatric clinical specialist. She's been especially great in our program. She goes above and beyond, making sure that our experience here at Clarkson, it's a good one. To have faculty members who will A, listen to your concerns, and then B, make adjustments to the learning experience, just to be a bit more accommodating. It means a whole lot, it means a whole lot for even someone like me who's had a little work experience coming in, and to then have supportive faculty members. As a current second year physical therapy student, I have about one more year left in the program before graduation. I feel as though I have learned a lot in my time here. And it's not just the knowledge base. It's not just the things you read in textbooks. It's not just relating to your peers, but it's also how are you going to be able to relate to people and to families who have very real concerns. These families who are going to be entrusting their loved ones in your care. We have core values that our association, the American Physical Therapy Association, core values that we are encouraged to live by. Just to name a few: care and compassion, excellency, social responsibility, your duty, things like that. The program has really ingrained those core values and principles in its students. And it's more than just taking exams and passing a course. Clarkson's Giving Day is, for me, just means, or showing our appreciation to the university for the opportunities that it's afforded us, which will allow us to go on to achieve our goals and dreams. We give back to Clarkson essentially to say thank you for the opportunity that you've given me. So I think you should always give back, kind of pay it forward, as they say, right? To keep it going for the next generation of students who will come to Northern New York, who will come to Clarkson University I am hoping with my education here at Clarkson University to impact the lives of others as positively and as best as I can. And that's really what's going to get you up in the morning. I want to wake up every morning knowing that my job and my work matters. Doesn't get much better than that.
Giving Day supports students like Uche. By participating in Giving Day on April 28th, you have the opportunity to support student research and academic opportunities at Clarkson. Thanks for listening. We are Clarkson.